Hello and welcome to the Subbud Podcast, your entry into the land of no easy answers, as we journey through the vagaries of the mind, attempting to unravel the mysteries of why our brains brain. Yeah, we're gonna have a crazy talk. We talk about some crazy stuff. You had a crazy story to tell, didn't you?
We're gonna talk about crazy. There's a lot of crazy going on right now.
Yeah,
we both had a lot of crazy.
And I guess the definition of crazy is we're gonna have a different definition, I think, than most people.
I feel like our crazy tolerance level is a lot higher than the average crazy tolerance.
Yeah.
For us to say something is crazy must mean it's actually.
Yeah, I'm more. Yeah, my story is one of entitlement, less than crazy, I suppose.
Yeah, I think mine is too, to be honest. So.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us for the crazy episode.
Ooh, the crazy
podcast.
Entitlement episode.
Oh, yes.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
Welcome back, everybody. We're having more fun as we go. Mm-hmm.
More crazy fun, as you can see by our new set design.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, everyone, go ahead, hit that subscribe button.
Somewhere in here.
Give us
it moves, shift it around.
Give us a like, a follow. Yeah, let's get into this a little bit. Let's talk crazy.
Okay, well, I'll start with the ghost that I had in my house for 2 weeks.
Ooh.
Yeah.
An entitled ghost.
A very entitled ghost.
So entitlement does not leave at the grave, as we all thought.
Apparently not. It was one of those, my son apparently had a friend in the house for a few days before we even saw her. Or before she at least decided to come and say, hello, hey, thanks for having me in your house or anything. And yeah, it ended up being a bit of a thing. Apparently almost 30-year-old woman who apparently couldn't figure out how to get her own ramen. It was very... And like, to go back to the beginning, like when she first came here, well, I mean, again, didn't see her for a few days. And then she kind of offered, if you guys need any help with anything, just let me know. And we'll, right, like, oh yeah, no problem, right? Like, and I try to be nice. At the end when she left, I said, have a good time and just let her walk out instead of literally looking this woman, not child, not, like woman, grown woman, who was in my house for 2 weeks eating, like turning her nose up at our food if it wasn't ramen, apparently, right?
Okay.
And just, being a general, like, destroyed things when she walked in here that she never replaced. It was a real shit show. It was a very...
You essentially just had the house guest from hell.
Well, and it was just one of those, like, again, at the end of it, I just wanted to just look her in the eyes and go, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, where do you think you can just walk into someone else's house and not expect there to be any kind of offering of help or anything? Like, you just came here to take from us.
Yeah.
Like, we saved you what, $2,000 worth of hotel fees over the 2 weeks that you stayed here in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Where it's not like, it's not cheap. You're not going to find any place for cheap that you're going to stay that's not going to be, right? Like, gave you a bed and a place to stay and you just couldn't even, right?
Yeah.
And just avoided us the whole time, didn't ingratiate herself to us as her hosts at any point and it was just the sense of entitlement that she was just owed this was just very...
Because that's quite odd,
Very.
Like you
I thought it was.
Obviously get that if you're paying for it, then that's the perk to going to a hotel is that someone else
you can
cleans
just
up after
exactly.
you can order room service and things like that. But if you're staying with friends or someone that's just doing you a favor, it's quite shitty.
It was very strange. I've really, you meet, and I mean, I have my problem with entitlement in Vancouver as it is, even pedestrians who just walk in front of moving vehicles and feel entitled for us to just stop what I was doing to let you be stupid in front of me. I just, but that was just a whole new level of just literally walked into my house and basically disrespected us the whole time she was here. Didn't talk to us, didn't help out, didn't, right? Like...
So then you end up feeling taken advantage of.
Oh, exactly. That was absolutely it, right? And then I'm sitting here looking out into the wider world going, well, no wonder everybody kind of feels, a little on edge every day when it just feels like everybody's feeling entitled to just do whatever the fuck they want to do at everyone else's expense around them. And we're just supposed to walk in their wake, picking up their shit. I watched a lady at Costco yesterday. The wind, when she walked into the cooler or whatever, blew her garbage onto the floor. She looked at it and then just walked away. And I just, you know, and it's so hard for me to not say something to her. So of course I had to say something to her.
Yeah.
You know.
And how'd that go for you?
She had no hearing aid. She couldn't hear what I was saying. I don't, you know, I don't. And then she's over talking to the people, and she seems to. And I'm going,
fine. Yeah.
and I'm going. You're in a store where at some point you may need to talk to someone. You walked into a store with. It's a pretty convenient excuse.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
for
also
again.
a pretty horrible thing if you're faking that just to get away with doing something that you already should know
when
better.
Literally it was 2 pieces of paper that she could have just, like, it was right there, and if she had just bent down to pick them up at that time, it would have been no problem. Instead they're blowing across, and she's just waiting for these people that
someone else's problem.
have better things to do. Like, yeah, they're going to sweep it up at the end of the day, but what if someone came along and slipped on it? Would you feel bad then? Would that make you, like, this is my problem. You leave a banana peel on the ground and walk away, and somebody slips on it and breaks their back. Well, who's the fucking blame for that? You fucking were. Like, and this is my issue, right? So now we've got a bunch of people slipping on banana peels behind a bunch of ignorant, frankly, cunts who just can't be bothered to even clean up after themselves.
Yeah.
And now we feel entitled to pass that on to everyone else.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole mindset of the entitled people, right? Is it's somebody else's problem. It's always someone else's job to clean up the mess, you know? And even basic little things, right? I was reading something about the shopping cart experiment and how that's actually like the greatest test for, you know, for your own morals, sorry. You know, returning the shopping cart.
Yeah.
Are you the type of person that just casually leaves it on the curb next to your car and drives away?
Oh,
Because
for the
it's
next person
somebody's
who's trying to
job.
park to bang into, to have to maneuver. Oh, I hate you people so much.
Or do you go a little bit out of your way to do what you're supposed to do to make things better for everyone? But the problem with entitlement is people, they justify it in a way, right? It's that, oh, well, that's somebody's job. I'm actually providing a service by keeping somebody employed to come and clean up those shopping carts or to sweep my garbage that I have dropped off the floor. You know?
Yep. As if they didn't have anything else to do. Right?
Well,
I mean,
sure.
as if their only job during the day was
say that could be part of
was
the
to clean
job,
up your
but-
garbage, right? I mean, that's my job. The whole job they hired me for here was to just follow you around and clean up your shit. That's my whole, like, that just, the mentality of that just makes me really angry, you know?
Yeah.
Because I just was not raised like that. I was raised that if you right, like, we were at the metal show last night, and I watched a lady going and picking up the beer cans off the floor that people were apparently just dropping and then smashing on the. And I'm just going, I wanted to just go over and tell her she was my hero, right?
Yeah.
I assumed she worked for the venue, but, you know, it was just, you know, and they were literally in the middle of the floor, and people could have at any point slipped on it and smashed their skull open, and nobody's even just, you know?
Yeah.
Which, the lack of thought, the lack of care, the lack of empathy, the lack of compassion, all of this just feeds into this cycle, I feel, that we've, you know, now feed this entitlement with, well, now nobody else is doing it, so I guess I get to be entitled too.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, it must just be the ego-driven world that we've created. Just honestly, it must be, right? There can't be that many people that are just so shitty human beings that have no compassion for anybody else. Like, I mean, if that's the case, then fuck, we're doomed, right? But,
That's been my problem. I keep trying to find the silver lining of this, and I've been really coming up short trying to figure out, like, what do you get from that? Is it just like, you know, it's like the people that only wear gray shirts and a blue pants every day? Is it just that you don't have to think about that, so you have, like, it's less cognitive load on your day, not worrying about the shit you leave behind you? Is that just basically you only looking ahead, I don't worry about what's behind me, right? Like, is that, I'm just trying to really, you know, try to figure out where this mentality even comes from. Is it really just a sense of, I don't give a fuck about this. I'm done caring. Where's the line where you now just decided that your worth is the only worth that matters?
Yeah.
You know, I'm
Because that is what it's saying, right? When you're
Basically.
doing things like that, it's nobody else matters except for you.
Yeah.
You know, which is a horrible way to go through life. But is that actually true, though? And that's the thing. I mean, because you can, confront some people, and some will react like the lady at the Costco and be, kind of shitty about it. Others will get aggressive in your face and
Oh,
like,
yeah.
well, yeah, it's my fucking problem, mind your own fucking business,
Yeah.
right? And other people will just genuinely have no idea what you're talking about and look at you completely bewildered. And I'll use my example, which I just remembered finally.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. I knew we'd get there eventually.
Yeah. So I work at a restaurant.
What? Okay.
For some shifts. And we had this group come in. It was a family. Not huge, but maybe I'd say like 14 people, but 4 or 5 of them were small children. But these children were just, so all of the adults just sat down and then just poof, it was like the children suddenly didn't even matter. Not a single adult was watching them. And these kids were everywhere. They weren't just around kind of this table where the family was sat. They were all over the restaurant, up the stairs, around the corner, the front entrance, climbing on shit that's dangerous, breakable, right into the kitchen. They're running past servers, carrying hot things, sharp things, all of the above.
Oh my God.
No adults cared.
Did not give a fuck.
None of them. And eventually...
This is our time. Hello. We come here so that we can let the children run free.
Well, and that seemed to be exactly what their mindset was it's not our problem. Now it's your job to look after our children. That's what we pay you for, right? But it was, and I wasn't actually serving this particular table, but after I'd almost run over a child now multiple times, and it was from the perspective where I was like, one of their kids is going to get seriously injured, and then guess what? They're going to sue us. Not maybe we should have kept better eye on our kids. No, if one of their kids gets hurt because it's being a little shitty asshole because you're not watching it, that's your problem.
Yep.
So eventually I had to go over and I was like, we can't do this, right? And so I, went and very sternly was just like, listen, I'm like, we are a place of business. You need to keep an eye on your children and keep them under your control, or we're going to have to ask you to leave because we can't take this kind of liability.
Yeah.
They honestly looked at me like they didn't have a fucking clue what I was talking about. This was news to them. And oh my God, I was
Does
the worst
this look
person.
like McDonald's?
I put them out so bad.
Do we have a play center for the children to be running around in? No? Then fuck off.
Well, it was quite honestly the response of like, I don't think they're that bad. We were just over exaggerating. And I was like, your kid is literally swinging by a curtain on the other side of the restaurant right now, over top of a pile of knives, and you have no idea.
Could you even point out where they were? That's about right. Like, this is my problem here. Like, you didn't even know where they were at the time this was occurring. So how could you even think of having an argument with the person telling you, hey, could you go get your kids?
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know where they are. Yeah, that's kind of the fucking point.
Yeah. Well, they were so put off by it. And so this is the issue, right? Is this like willful ignorance?
Yes.
Or we try to dissect things a bit here, Aaron. We try to understand. That's the whole point of this, is not to say you're a fucking asshole and that's the end of it.
Fine.
So, I mean,
you're a fucking asshole right now. We do definitely try to make that distinction. The slices of life, I may have caught you at that slice where you're just being a complete fucking asshole right now. Sure, fair enough, right? I would expect that at the end of this, I will be hearing a sorry as you trail off into the distance. That's all I hope for. Right, like that's all I could really
the thing is,
reasonably
we're not
expect.
even getting from a lot of people that are acting this way. We're not even getting a sorry. It's a doubling down on no, you're the one that is wrong. You're perceiving this wrong. You're overreacting, overblowing it. And so the question is like, where is this coming from? Because is this actually something that's are these people just terribly selfish, heartless people, or is there something else at play here where they genuinely don't feel like they are acting this way? They genuinely feel like they're good people, And if that's the case, why is this type of behavior manifesting? Is it because it's just more socially acceptable now? The person that screams the loudest and is the most selfish typically get what they want? Is that a product of it? Is it a product of everything being so much more individualistic and egotistical, where you're just not capable of thinking outside of yourself? trying to find that compassion of how did these people get here in the first place.
Yeah, and I think, I really try to chalk a lot of it up to pandemic, that we just lost our connection with each other.
Well, I think a lot of this existed pre-pandemic.
Absolutely, but
as
I think
well.
it really exacerbated the problem in that it really has made it something where, trying to claw back to what we had before is, in a lot of cases, looked at with disdain because what we had before wasn't necessarily working even better. So the idea that we're trying to build something different with people who are not trying to build with us, I think is where at least I'm kind of seeing it from. Right? If I'm looking out into the world and everybody around me seems to be working for their own agenda, then cognitively trying to build that bridge, trying to build that, means over this part of my brain going, well, fuck them all, right?
Yeah.
Just makes it, why would I bother, right? Like, well, what's the benefit for me in the end anyway? I'm going to spend all this effort trying to just be like, hey, so could you just pick up the garbage that you just dropped? No, your hearing aid doesn't, like, what do you mean it doesn't, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I just, the people walking into the street, and when you honk or something, or just try to be like,
And then they
hey,
go,
hey,
"Focus."
just so you know, I was driving my vehicle right here, and you happened to just walk in front of a moving vehicle. I wasn't sure if you were aware. Oh, you're giving me you're gonna kick my car. What is going on here, right?
Yeah.
And so now also, like, having had that come a few times, now the next time it happens, guess what? Right? Now I'm either tripling down, quadrupling down on this I'm fucking angry bullshit, right? Or I'm trying to, again, try to be nice, but again, this situation of every time I've tried to be nice, will you just laugh at me and kick me? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Why would I bother trying to build something with you?
Yeah. Well, and
You
I think
know?
that is the problem is we're so conditioned now that, we all kind of think that our own values that we hold personal and important. And we judge people that don't seem to hold those values the same as we do as just being fucking assholes that are not worthy of us and our compassion. And that's kind of the world, right? But the problem with that is, and we covered this in a few episodes back,
It's been a
about
recurring
how
theme, yeah.
our values are all kind of like curated to us in a way, right? Because we're so bombarded with all of our messages and social media and advertising and everything everywhere. Anytime you're online, the things that you're shown, right? It's subtly kind of telling us what our values are and what we hold as important in our worlds and what we should strive for and what we should want and need and all of this, right? And it takes a lot to actually recognize because it is very subconscious, but this is shaping what we feel we need and want. The problem with this is because it's all targeted just, to sell us more shit, essentially. Everyone is being kind of targeted differently, right? So then we're all maybe developing these needs and wants and then assuming that they're universal, which they are not, and now labeling people that don't share those same needs, wants, and values as fucking ignorant assholes that aren't worthy of our human love and compassion. Right? Because it doesn't make much sense as to why this is happening on such a grand scale over people whose differences are not that pronounced. We're all just kind of human beings struggling by. So why am I suddenly labeled as a fucking asshole just because I'm asking you very politely to control your children? There's no reason for that because a normal person would go, oh shit, right. Yeah, I would be horribly embarrassed, right? Be like, I wasn't paying attention. Fuck, I've now just caused so much extra work and stress on somebody else. It would be like you said, just that I'm so sorry.
Well, just even the idea that other tables around them weren't giving them the eye, going, "What's going on
Oh,
here?"
everyone was.
You
Oh,
didn't,
definitely.
you didn't notice that everyone around you was kind of wondering what the fuck you're doing. You had no cognition, no recollection, even no, just nothing inside of you that even looks around you and is cognizant of. Like, I thought I was the one that had autistic tendencies,
Yeah.
right? Where reading people, I sometimes go, "Is that what you really? Is that? It feels like you're. Right? Is that? Are you sure?" But just the idea, and I mean, so I read an article a while ago about the kind of flip side of the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? The one side being that if you're ignorant of something, that you tend to stay ignorant of it, right?
Yeah.
Let alone you overestimate your abilities in that area, right? The flip side of it is that if you are actually educated in these things, in a lot of ways you underestimate your own ability,
Yeah.
and that becomes this defining feature, and that has been a problem for me from day fucking one, where for the most part I assume that you have the same knowledge kind of stuff going on, right? Like there's a certain, right, like I assume that if you're the same age as at least me, that we have some sort of generalized thing going on where we're in this same space and we're kind of trying to look out for each other, right? you know
Well, yeah, you think.
like
It's a
let
nice way
alone,
to
I
think
mean, I
about things.
get that, we're from different places, but you would think that if we're in this same space, I don't give a fuck where you come from. I figure we're all trying to work towards something better.
Yeah.
And the problem is, if you're standing in the way of that, I have no other recourse but to question why. And sometimes that comes in the form of, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
you know?
But then to play devil's advocate, they're thinking the same thing about you. Because, everyone thinks, no one sits there, I hope not, and goes, wow, I'm really a shitty human being. No, I think almost everyone sits there and goes, I'm a pretty decent person because this is what I value and I stand up for blah, 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 blah. So while you're looking at someone and you're perceiving them as being an entitled prick, they're probably looking at you and perceiving you as being the entitled prick.
So let's go to our
simply
stories
because we're-
then.
Yeah.
Right? Rolling it back to the ghost that I had in my house.
Yeah.
Was it my entitlement of expecting her to be doing something? And I mean, like, granted, we didn't exactly, when she walked in here, be like, you need to fucking wash some fucking dishes, you need to be what, right? Like,
Threw her an apron
we
and a
didn't-
broom.
Exactly,
Earn your
right? Like,
keep.
we didn't make it, very specifically clear that we had some expectations that you were going to stay in our house for not free. you know? And I mean, hey, is that might be my fault for this, causing this whole situation in the first place of not being just like, hey, what the fuck, from day one,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and it kind of goes, to at the end of the day, it's having expectations that simply weren't met.
So
Right.
if the expectation was when that family walked into your restaurant that the children would sit the fuck down, not get in the fucking way of the servers trying to do their goddamn fucking jobs,
Yeah.
and that you would have some sort of control over your children where they're not just running rampant through a place that is not designed for
Yeah.
your children to run rampant through.
That was, I thought, a fairly reasonable expectation.
But this was where, again,
But
like this
an
is something we
expectation
shouldn't
nonetheless.
have to say.
Yeah.
And that's where I get to a problem with this whole thing, is that I shouldn't have to say to you, hey, I thought we were trying to build something together here.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to say, hey, I shouldn't, maybe when you're looking to cross the street, you could actually, look both ways before you, like, it seems like your mother didn't care enough about you to just not, like, do you play in the street? Like, it's the same thing, like, do you shut the lights off when you leave the house? Like, when you leave a room, or like, these are the little things that just feels like we're not doing this for each other.
Yeah.
Like, this is my problem. Like, it's not that I'm trying to shit on you for this thing. I'm trying to educate, because it feels like, hey, if you weren't raised that way, sure, what we do here is a little different.
Yeah.
Right? And the idea that you're sitting there, I don't mind, my hearing rate's not, I don't know, right? Instead of recognizing that in this fucking country, we pick up our fucking garbage. Like, just Jesus fucking Christ, people. That's, again, something that I shouldn't have to say to you.
Yeah.
And yet I feel like I have to wander around picking up your fucking shit every day and then going, why am I having to clean up your stupid shit that you can't clean up yourself?
Yeah.
And like, this is, I try to be so nice. Like, I'm always the guy, if you've done something, I'm the first one to wave. I'm the first one to be just like, well, good job, man. Right?
Yeah.
But I'm also, unfortunately, on the flip side of that, the first one to be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And that, unfortunately, again, it's a service that I'm trying to do, but, it feels like it falls on deaf ears.
Well, the issue, and that's what it comes down to, is the communication, right? Because no one can help if expectations aren't being met. That's going to happen all the time, regardless, because we're humans that create expectations of others that we can't control. What the problem is the communication, what happens when your expectations aren't met and you feel wronged or slighted in some way, right? And instead of being able to have rational, reasonable conversations about it, that's what's suddenly been taken out, I think, of our culture, is the rationality behind how we deal with it. Because whether you agree with that person or not that comes up to you and says, hey, pick up your garbage, you know, in your head you think it's perfectly fine. There should be a way to communicate that, right? And even if your response is simply like, oh, I don't believe in picking up my garbage for this reason, right? And it probably would be something like, you know, someone gets paid to do that, blah, blah, blah. Well, now at least you have some sort of understanding or you know, that you can now speak to and be like, okay, I don't agree with your explanation, but I appreciate now like your thought process, and then you can have a rational conversation about it and go, okay, I get why you could think that, but you know, here's something to consider about that's not really that person's job, right? And blah blah blah.
If she had looked at me and said, you know, my back really hurts, it's
Yeah,
for me to
yeah.
get down there and pick that up is really, I would have been, hey, no problem, let me go grab that for you. I would have fucking helped her out. And this is where I again have this, because it's this problem of I'm trying to build something here that you just don't seem invested in helping with. You just seem more invested in kicking me, and that this schadenfreude of watching people, and just being like, oh, does that make you, oh, do you not like that? Oh, that makes me so happy. Just watching you angry behind me. Oh, while I'm driving 30 down the road and you're just screaming behind me. Oh, that makes me so happy. Like that's what it feels like is really going on, where people are walking into the street and giving you the finger because that makes them feel better about their decision for walking, and I'm just
In a way it does, and that's why it is really fucked up, because I think people need to feel superior in some way, and this is how it's manifesting. So by doing something shitty, but then they can now call you the shitty one because of how you're reacting, they get to feel like the superior person.
Well, and this has always been my problem, right? Like, because I have this hair, I have this demeanor where I come across as this big scary monster, right, at times. When that's not what I'm trying to achieve when I first started out. And this is my issue, is that if you had listened to me the first time, you would have heard the rational, calm version of me going, hey, could you please?
Yeah.
Right? You didn't hear that, so now I've gone twice. No, you didn't listen to that. Now I'm at 3 times where I've now tried to just be polite to you, and you've literally just ignored or even worse, turned to me and given me the finger and just, you know, treated me as if I'm just some, you know, not like I didn't try nicely in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, which makes this again very difficult, where I'm just being like, hey, so I'm not sure if you noticed, right? But you seem to be trailing a heap of garbage behind you as you walk. And I was just wondering if you were aware that, you know, taking your garbage out of your car, say, and throwing it on the side of the road as you drive is a fucking right? Taking your cigarette butts. The idea that people are still throwing cigarette butts out of their cars, whether it's out or not, I just don't even, on the street, like, just how ignorant must you be? And again, the problem here is that when we say something to you, now we're just a snowflake, now you just pull these labels out instead of actually trying to have an actual discussion about what I was trying to get at in the first place, and now, again, we roll back to this. Well, no wonder nothing ever moves forward.
Yeah.
Because there's literally no way for it to move forward. And I keep coming back to the fact of the religious evil end of things, where the reason I'm not listening to you is because I've turned you into this evil caricature inside my head that I don't have to listen to anymore because you're the devil. Whatever, you're the devil. Fuck him.
Well,
right?
That's what we were talking about. That's what everyone's doing is, you know, you label the other. Again, see our past episode on this very subject. We've labeled the other. They're evil. They're shitty people. Therefore, they are not worth our time. We don't need to listen to. We can demonize them. They suck, and now you can do whatever.
Which again, cognitively is easier, but the problem is that, you know, it's very easy to destroy things. Cognitively, we can wreck things all day. It's much harder to build something. You have to plan, conceive, have an actual idea of what you're trying to achieve at the end of this thing. There's a whole bunch of steps that you have to actually put a whole bunch of energy into making happen, right? A relationship is exactly the same thing. Even a small relationship, like someone who's walking down the street and happens to step in front of a vehicle. Yeah. So again, it's the energy involved in building is a lot more. So I get that, you know, it's much easier for just, right? But that's our response to everything now is just, fuck it.
But I think we need to talk about why it got to that in the first place. you know, and the only thing I can really think of, I'm sure there's many different explanations too, but people not feeling appreciated. So it's kind of the opposite of what you were saying earlier about how, you know, you start off nice and you're trying to help, and now you've been like, you know, shut down so many times that you have an instant response, right? So let's flip that the other way of people that were trying to do the right thing, maybe constantly were not appreciated for it, not acknowledged for it, and that slowly erodes away and now gets to the point of, well, what's the fucking point?
Yep, that's exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's not that all these people are evil, shitty, heartless, soulless people, and that's what we need to get away from, is labeling people as you're shit, you're ignorant, you're a terrible human, because that's probably not true. Some of you probably are, but most people, I would argue, that's just it. They've just become helpless and given up for feeling underappreciated. And we are living in a world right now where it's really fucking hard to feel like you're of any worth at all, because you're constantly just struggling against this never-ending fucking uphill battle with no end in sight, right? And any little thing you do that maybe gives you that little inch to get ahead just gets swatted away, or, you know, you're not appreciated for it or given praise for it, because then people become maybe a bit envious that you've taken this little tiny step forward, and, you know, they want to drag you back down so you're on the same level and everyone can kind of wallow together, right? So it's just a thought that this is maybe how it formed. Was just we're
starting out,
right?
I mean,
and it compounds, right? So after a while, now you've turned into this person that's looks like an entitled, selfish, heartless person, you know, but you started off just like everyone else, and you just got fucking fed up with being shat on constantly, so you gave up and said, well, no fucking point, you know? So if we can look at it from there, right, you know, obviously sticking labels on things is never going to help anybody, and we're not going to move forward. That's just going to
not hard
keep
and fast
spinning
ones,
the thing
right?
on
Again,
its
like
axis,
if you got a slice of time where you were acting like, sure,
of course, we all can.
And that's exactly, like that I think is kind of how we delineate these things, right? The problem here is that if we just want to blanket smear everybody with these names, of course that's not going to get us anywhere. This is why, like, when I apologize for something, I just don't say, I'm sorry, right? I say, I'm sorry for what I did. I specifically, right, like, take responsibility and then try to figure, okay, what can I do to make this better, right? Like, is there anything I can help? Is there, right, like, is this going to be something where I'm just going to need some time to help this, right? Like, and it's a matter of, you know, you could leave that pile of shit lying on the floor, or we could clean it up and try to move forward, right? And I'm going to mangle a quote here of, you know, instead of attributing most of this to maliciousness, that we could probably chalk most of it down to stupidity, you know? And that really kind of becomes this, you know, instead of it being, well, they're evil monsters, they're probably just kind of fucking stuff up like you are, and we make mistakes. And sometimes that translates into you look like an evil monster sometimes. I get that. I get that, right? And again, this issue is, the problem here is that we have to be cognizant of when we're that malicious monster, because sometimes I have these big feet, sometimes I stomp on things. We all do this, right? You know, we're just, you know, leaving garbage in our wake without being aware that, oh shit, that was leaking out of me? Oh, I'm so sorry. You know? But that's exactly the problem. We can have that you leading behind us the whole time without ever, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even, but that I think is the response that I've been missing here, is that, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. Oh, I didn't realize I was doing that. What can I do to fix it? Like, that's where we seem to be getting stuck here. And that's my problem with this whole situation, is that if you're never going to acknowledge there's a problem in the fucking first place, how are we ever supposed to fucking fix this thing?
Well, maybe it's a way of holding on to that little bit of advantage maybe these people have felt, right? Maybe these types of behaviors, these entitlement things, this not apologizing, not picking up after themselves, maybe it's just that way of, I'm hanging on to this to feel that little bit ahead, right? So in terms of, you know, trying to wrap things up, you know, on this episode of how do we fix it, otherwise we'll be on this all day.
This is the land of no easy answers, in case you hadn't heard.
People, places to be.
We do this thing where there's, like, we pick subjects that you can't really, like, have an easy answer for, and then we, like, talk about it.
But I'm thinking, like, a lot of what it comes down to is, like, this, you know, mine and yours sort of thing, and this envy that we have towards other people that we perceive have more, or what's the word I'm looking for? People that have less, and we can kind of, hold it over them and feel better about ourselves. So I think a good place to start is let's try and get rid of this, right? Let's just try to be happy for people with what they have. Don't try to drag that person down that comes to you with that little bit of good news. And I know we've all experienced this, and you share with someone, and the first thing is a negative. Well, that's not going to really work because of that, right? Let people have the small victories. And when people fuck up, be there for them. Have a little compassion instead of, haha, you fucking idiot, or I told you so's, and all of these things that just serve to smack people down again. This is where it's coming from, right? This is where we end up feeling hopeless. So let's just have that. Yes, I want you to go and succeed. I am so happy for the small little things that have given you joy today that make you feel like you have actually moved a bit forward. You've fallen down, you tried something and you fucked up, and you fucked up bad. You know what? Bravo, I'm here for you too, because I have fucked up more than most people. We all do. It's what makes us human. Right here,
remember that was I did that exact. I totally feel you, man. I get it.
Yeah, well, like we've all done it. So this, whole, trying to feel better about ourselves, because of
others.
somebody else's failure. What does that do for anybody? It just leads us to where we're at, So that's kind of the challenge.
Covered in shit.
Covered in shit. There's so much shit. We're just in a constant shit bath here.
But that would be it's an analogy for all of this, where if you're feeling shit on all day every day, then of course all you're trying to do is just climb out of the shit,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
but
and
that
let
could
alone,
look like you're leaving shit behind you, because you're
or
climbing
let
out
alone
and
that, but
splattering
then
it.
anything that comes at you, even if it's clean water, could still feel like shit, because it could be coming in a way that the shit was coming, and now you're like, ah,
Yeah.
right? I'm just trying to wash you off. Go away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this conditioning is something that we can hopefully fight with this, and that, recognizing that, again, you're not evil, I'm not evil, we're probably just stupid. Right?
Yeah.
Realistically, if you really thought
None
they
of
were
us
trying
really
to,
know what the hell's
if
going
you were
on.
trying to be, if you thought, like, yeah, sure, some people go out of their way to try to be actually evil, right? But for the most part, I would chalk most of it just to, you just made a stupid choice, and now you're locked into it, and now we're seeing the end result of you trailing this ick behind you that we're having to clean up after you.
Yeah.
Right? Hopefully you've recognized that the ick was yours, and that, there's something to be said about, cleaning up your own ick.
Yeah.
Right? And that we can have a conversation of, and if it's an ick that you don't feel like you're capable of dealing with, let's help each other out with that.
Yeah.
This is my problem, is that, like, if you didn't realize that there was a problem, I'm here to help. That's what I was trying to make myself available for when I said, fuck you, you fucking right? It was me trying to offer my services, right? Yeah, exactly. Well, that's again,
How did she
unfortunately,
not see that?
But if all I've seen is shit coming at me all day, my only response is, I don't want more shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whether
And
you are the
that's where most
nicest,
people are at, though.
whether you are the nicest person, you've been doing charitable work all day, and you just happen to walk out into the right, like you happen to just get in the way of, and unfortunately that's where we have this issue of, if you could just see the slice of, instead of making that the blanket of everybody, hopefully we can make this something where it's not an evil, malicious thing, but instead we can just be stupid every once in a while, and give each other the grace of letting us just be stupid.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I think that's a good
place to leave it. So next time you think, that guy's being a fucking asshole, instead go, that guy's just stupid.
That guy's being
just
fucking
like
stupid.
Me.
Exactly. Right? But, and when someone comes up to you and says, hey, you're being fucking stupid, go, yeah, buddy, you are too.
Yeah.
Right?
But don't take it as a personal attack. And I think that's the problem, right? We take
Even if it seems
so
like a
much as a
personal
personal
attack,
attack on both sides of it, right? Like, that person that's calling you out because you just left a pile of shit behind you, right? They're not doing it to try and make you feel, lesser than. They're not doing it to try and exalt over you. They're just pointing out, hey, buddy, it's just a bit of shit.
Yeah.
And the response to that shouldn't be, fuck you, you asshole, it's my shit, I'll leave it where the fuck I want. It should just be like, oh, okay, cool, sorry, I didn't realize that was bothering anyone. Or whatever it is, right? And take that opportunity and just go, okay, no, we just had an interaction between two humans that just are trying to struggle by and get through their life. They don't want to necessarily shit on anyone and keep them down, and
I stumbled this way, you stumbled that way. We happened to, our shoulders
we
happened
go.
to hit,
Yeah.
and now we're, right? Like, but
we're just stumbling around together, and
That's-
let's really try and. That's the challenge to you all. We're all
Yeah.
just stupid.
well, I know I am. I mean, I'm definitely speaking for myself when I agree with that statement. I'm definitely, but again, my thing here is I figure my whole goal in life is to just try to be less stupid. My whole goal is for tomorrow to be less stupid than I was today.
Yeah.
Hey, and that's if we can get that, then I figure I've done a pretty decent job of this life thing that I've been thrown into.
It's a pretty good goal. That's all you have to do is try to be less stupid
Right?
tomorrow.
Yeah.
I certainly haven't succeeded at that. It tends to get worse as I go along.
2 steps backward, the occasional step forward.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what it means to be human. We're not here to prove ourselves to each other about, who can be the best of all the humans and have the most stuff. And it's not about, we're all just here to stumble through it. Right? So
Yeah.
let's
And
stumble
let's
together.
celebrate your stumbling in the comments below. Throw them on in there. Over here, there it is. That's where the camera was. Right. Throw your comments below there. Yeah, anytime you stumbled, we're here to walk you through it, and there may be.
I mean, we'll stumble with you.
Well, this is, and this
I'm
is
not going
where
to say we're sturdy to be.
human nature is to see the humor in things, right? This is where, unfortunately, when you get that slapstick humor of the banana peel that somebody left and you fall in, right? Like that first response of, okay, sorry. Yeah, no, you're you're obviously hurt.
Are you okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel that, but yeah, we're getting better. Yeah, we're gonna end it there.
Yeah.
Before we drag on more, anyway.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for-
much.
Ooh,
You can do it too.
ooh,
You
wow.
do it in unison. Thank you
so
so much for listening to the
Oh, it's creepy,
Sunbird
it's creepy.
Podcast. Thank you. We appreciate you. We've been off for a bit here. We appreciate you sticking around and all the new people that are going to join us. We've got some very excited things coming up, and this thing is going to explode soon. And we appreciate those of you that have been here from the beginning, because it's going to be something very interesting going forward.
Thanks again, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.